summary of this particular session is like apply the least privileges principle. Okay, so whenever you are trying to integrate the external system to Salesforce, okay, the first thing is we have to secure more on the Salesforce side using the org level, org wide sharing, profile, permission set, record sharing, and then all other aspects that we discussed in the previous slide, right? So I want to go back and then I want to show you that very quick. So this is the important for each and every aspect of security access. Okay, first we have to define this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 level of restrictions should be handled in Salesforce first. So if a sales rep is going to access certain data in a Salesforce, what kind of action they can perform in Salesforce, what data they can see, what data they can update, what values they can see, and then what values they can update, all need to be controlled on the Salesforce side first. Okay, next the integration side. When we come into the integration side, that's where the external client app, scope, custom scope, and then IP address restriction, and then all other different mechanisms that we talked about earlier, right? These are all the mechanisms. Based on your use case, you have to choose the right mechanism to integrate the connect the Salesforce, right? So if we are going to use the Salesforce login credentials as identity provider, you have to use the authorization code flow. If you are going to use the server to server integration, JWT barrier flow, it's a certification based authentication. The other option for server to server integration is like a client credential flow. So you can create a new external client app, and then you can dedicate the user. Like dedicate the user means like integration user, API user. So if you have a single user that is connecting between two different systems, then you have to choose the right mechanism. And then device, if you are building a new device, then you have to use the device flow. So like that, based on your use case, you have to utilize the appropriate authentication mechanism. And then I will go back to the end. So scope controlled authentication, so that's a standard scope that I talked about. So this particular connected app, okay, so this particular external client app, what API they can access from the external system, whether they would just want to read the data from Salesforce, then add the API scope. If you just 2 minutes. If you want to access the chatter API, then assign only the chatter API. If you want to access any metadata API, just grant a metadata scope. Okay, so you have to define the scope based on your use case. Okay, and then third one is the custom scope, where you can utilize the custom scope to restrict on top of that standard scope API, and then secure the integration with least privileges. That's the one we talked about, like what object, what fields, what data they can see, you can restrict on that. And then last one is whatever the integration system, whatever the secure system we implement, we have to monitor the system more periodically, right? So for example, like you establish the external client app, you provided the client ID, secret ID to the external system, but you have to monitor, and then you have to revisit that. You have to change the client ID, secret ID. You have to build your own policy to change the client ID, secret ID very often, right? So for example, you created the client ID, secret ID. For example, I am a developer, I created the client ID, secret ID, I left the company, right? So now we have to revisit that, hey, this key, this person already know, he may be taking with him, right? So we have to revisit our policies very periodically, and then make sure we change the password once 90 days. We change our authentication, like client ID, secret ID every 160 days or 180 days. So we have to come up with our own policy mechanism to keep monitoring the system and see whether anywhere we compromised our security, anywhere we compromised our credentials, anywhere someone is unauthorized user came into the system. So we have to monitor that make sure that there is no security breach. Okay, so I know we already over time, so I'm available. So I have my entire application available. So I'll be putting in GitHub, and then I'll be sharing with this meeting group. So if you guys any question regarding this security related issues, I'm happy to jump on a call and then help you guys answer all your questions. Okay, thank you so much for joining with me today. Thank you.